Hello, and welcome to the Mommy Escape Time podcast. I'm Lauren. I'm a wife and a new mom. I came up with the idea of this podcast after struggling to find mommy groups around me when my son was born. I wanted a community of mothers I heard so many of my friends talk about when they had their children. This podcast is to help mothers like me that want a community of mothers to connect with when they have their free time. Together with my usual guest, Taryn, and other mothers, we will share our experiences, not our advice, through motherhood, and hopefully get some tips from you, the listeners. So come join us on the Mommy Escape Time podcast. Hello, and welcome to the Mommy Escape Time podcast. I am Lauren, your host, and today I am back with Taryn.
Hi.
Yes, Taryn is back. So today we're going to talk about what we do with our kids in the summer. And I actually did a podcast a few weeks ago about my plans of what to do with the summer with my child, and we'll see if I make it.
Yeah. I always have great plans with my kids and even things to do around the house. They're great plans.
Yeah, it's great what you can imagine and think you can do in the summer, and then reality sets in. And I guess, especially with teachers, like, it's our time to rest, too.
Yeah.
So jam-packing your schedule and thinking you're going to just be able to do that, it's not realistic.
It's totally unrealistic. And if you're not a teacher, you don't understand what it's like to work 10 months. And I know a lot of people in my own life that are like, oh, well, you only work 10 months of the year. It's not a full-time job, which really drives me crazy. But we have to do a year's worth of work in those 10 months. So these 2 months, most of the time I end up just laying around doing very little because I just don't have the energy.
Right. And it's like you need to like reset your mind. You need to not be on a schedule. You need to not have to run to the bathroom when there's someone else around to watch your class, and
or in the 5-minute passing time.
Right. If there's not a line. And and it's just, I can't even tell you how nice it's just to eat when you're hungry.
Right? I forgot what that was like. So much so that even with my kids, I was forgetting to ask them if they were hungry, because I would just keep working, not realizing I wasn't eating. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, guys, it's like 1:30. Do you want lunch?
Right.
And they were like, yeah, Mom, we're starving.
It's like, you just have to tell me.
Yeah. Right.
I know. It's definitely, it's different. It's definitely nice. I don't know how people work all summer. Like, I can't imagine on those nice days, like, not being able to do what you want to do.
Right. Or when we had the really humid days recently, like having to get dressed in work clothes. Nah, I lived in my gym clothes all weekend.
Yeah, I have like my summer uniform outfit, which I'm actually not wearing because it's a little cooler today.
It is cool. Yep, I had a sweatshirt on this morning, which is bizarre.
But I have a pair of shorts, which I have like 6 pairs of, and I have 6 tank tops, and I have 2 short sleeve shirts, both which are Mickey based, so that when I go out in public and I don't want to wear a tank top, that's what I wear.
Yeah.
And that is like my summer uniform.
Totally.
And the only difference on a cold day is, and I have these like long sleeve shirts that I wear inside. They're like running long sleeve shirts, and I wear them inside when it's air conditioned. And I have capris for workout capris when it's like a little cooler out, like today. Mm-hmm. But that's it. Like, there's nothing else.
No, if you want me to get dressed up to go somewhere, I needed like several weeks to plan because I don't have those clothes readily available in the summer.
Right, and I'd have to actually like wash and do my hair.
Yeah, what? Who does that?
Like I'm thinking, I'm like, wow, I should probably try and cut my hair in the summer because it's gonna sneak up on me that I can't wear my hair in a ponytail every single day.
Right. Yeah, I'll still try and get away with it, but I get it, and I feel the same way. And the woman who does my hair is on maternity leave right now because she just had twins.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I'm very excited for her, and kind of like a lost puppy. Like, where who am I going to go to now? I'm just going to have to wait until September when she's back at work.
I know. And since I moved, my hairdresser moved across the country, and I used to just drive down like an hour to go see her. Mm-hmm. And now that she's moved across the country, I just go to Supercuts, and I'm just like,
whatever.
It's so hard. Like, once you find a hairdresser you like, it's like the best thing in the whole world. And once you lose them, it's like, you don't want to look for anyone. It's too much work.
Yeah, and it takes a lot. It took a lot for me to find someone who I trusted. And the way I finally found her, and this is totally off topic, and I realize that.
Whatever.
Is because her sister had curly hair, and she always did her sister's hair, and it looked good. And I was like, I need that.
Yeah.
Because we have very similar textures to our curls. Like, can you do that for me?
Right.
And I don't know anyone else that has a sister with curly hair, so I can never change.
Right. Exactly. So that's good. All right. So we'll get on topic a little bit. So stuff to do in the summer. Tell us one thing you've done.
So when my kids were younger, we would get season passes to lake compounds. Mm-hmm. And they were too young for camp. They did have daycare that we did pay through the summer. Right. So sometimes I would send them for half days, but to bring them to lake compounds, which is a nearby amusement park. So any amusement park that has season passes would work. Right. And we would show up for like 2 or 3 hours to let them go on some of the water rides. They have like splash pools for the younger kids, and they have the bigger rides for the bigger kids now that they're 10. We still get their season passes so that we can go for a couple of hours to spend some energy to go on some rides. And that's been a real go-to for me. And it's a struggle sometimes because they always want all of the junk food and all of the souvenirs.
Right, that's the tough part.
I've worked it out that we eat lunch and then we go. And when they start to get hungry for a snack, that's when we leave.
Right. Because you can't bring food into
this
park.
Can't. Yeah, this park won't let you. If only they were more like Disney.
I know. Don't worry, I have food for my kid. I'm allowed to because he's a baby.
Right. And I can bring food for me because of my food sensitivity. Right. So I'll say, I'm gluten-free, and they'll allow it. So sometimes I might sneak in a couple of extra sandwiches if I know it's a really hot day or a long day that we want to spend there. But I love that because it grew with them through their ages.
Right.
So I would also, when they were little, do like the kid museums and parks and like bounce house places and trampoline parks. I tried to find things. But some days it's so hot and you're like, I just don't even want to leave the house.
Right.
So then what do I do then? And once my kids were old enough, I sent them to camp.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I don't pay for childcare in the summer because that was one of the things. It's a cost-saving thing, for one. And two, I'm a little different where I don't necessarily want to work as much. I'd much rather be with my child. Yeah. So it's not as much work for me in the summer to watch him.
Yeah.
It's a little tough sometimes. Like I want to sleep in, but no matter what, I have a child, so I wouldn't get to sleep in whether he was going to daycare.
And just wait, by next summer, you can have him sit on your back and you can fall asleep while he's watching a show, like a Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. I remember that age too. That was amazing.
Yeah, he doesn't have the focus yet to watch TV, but
that's okay.
It's okay.
But why not? He's over 1.
I know, he should. But yeah, I mean, I think Lake Compounds has been like my child can ride maybe 6 or 7 rides there. Mm-hmm. He can't ride they have like a whole kiddie section area, and he can't ride most of the rides there because you have to be able to ride without an adult.
Right.
So he's not tall enough, but I know by next summer he definitely will be.
Yes, he will be.
So I find, and that's the thing, like after he gets up from his nap, we just go for a few hours.
Yeah.
I can bring his dinner if I think we're going to be there that long because he eats dinner earlier. And then we just come home. And it's just nice to have that place to go to because the kids think it's so fun and like it's so amazing that they can just be at this place, even if it's for a few hours. And they're not upset if they can't do something because it's like, well, we could just come tomorrow.
Right. We'll be here again tomorrow.
Right. So, and actually, like last night, it was supposed to. I thought we had a little more time. It said it was going to thunder and lightning like at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
So at 4 o'clock, I decided, I'm like, we're going.
Oh,
Let's
no.
go. So we went at 4, and I was like tracking the weather the whole time. I'm like, oh, now it says 6. I'm like, okay. I'm like, oh, now it says 5. So we like sprint to the carousel.
Yeah.
And then sprint to the other side to ride the cars. And we could ride the cars at least a few times in a row. And I like literally sprinted with him to the car. And we got in the car and it started to rain.
Oh my God.
So, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
But it was fun. Like, whatever. I was there for 45 minutes.
Yeah. And it was
that's
a nice outing so that it's not being in the house all day.
And that's the hardest part, especially with a kid who's just learning to really, really walk and run around.
Yeah.
I could bring him outside, obviously, but not when it's thundering.
Right. Right.
So, and we've had like 4 hot days in a row. Rainy days, and it's just I just need to be outside.
Yeah. Yeah,
So.
I feel the same way. And now my kids are at an age where if I let them, they could sit and watch TV from the moment they woke up to the moment they went to bed, and they watch these god-awful, forgive me, these god-awful YouTube videos that I just don't understand, but they're like high school kids making more money than I do, doing stupid stuff on. So good for them. I'm glad that they're capitalizing on it. I'm glad that my kids enjoy it. Except I have to watch with them to monitor and make sure that the videos are appropriate, because even with the kid filters on,
you never
sometimes they slip through and I'm like, whoa, or my kids will come and be like, hey mom, what about this really inappropriate topic a 10-year-old shouldn't know about? And I'm like, what? So I limit their TV all the time, but even over the summer, they get a little bit more time, but I have taken YouTube off of the TVs that have it. Like I've blocked the app completely because I'm concerned for their well-being.
Right. And it's not like everything could be fully monitored all the time. People post, like, there's millions of videos posted every day.
Yeah, like, even on, like, the Pandora app, when you put on, like, the clean version of songs or ask for it to be censored, once in a while, you'll get a song that might not have any curses, but the lyrics themselves are inappropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is great when I play music in school, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, Candy Shop comes on, I'm like, change it! Yikes.
They don't understand. Don't worry. Yes, they do. Oh, yeah. So, yes, amusement parks. And I think what's different with our amusement park is it has a water park. And it's not like a small water park. This is a full service water park, all ages.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Like they could just go and just do the water park for like 4 hours, no problem.
My kids usually do now. At this point, they actually like the water park more than the regular ride. So unless it's like really bad weather, I just go and I'll set up on a chair and they'll go from ride to ride. And I'll say check in after every ride to make sure that you're still in one piece and you're still together.
Right.
So it's really opened up my world as far as not having to go with them and making sure they're with me.
Right.
And I think having two is just that much more challenging because one wants one ride, the other wants the other ride, and you're like, of course you want different rides on different sides of the park.
Right.
So now they work it out together. They compromise. Okay, we'll do this ride, but can we do that ride next? And I'm like, high five, DeSorbo. I'm doing something right.
Yeah, exactly. You got this. Don't worry. Yeah, I mean, it's nice. So, and you see like a lot of the same families. Like I think I know all the workers on the rides. The other day I went with my nephew and they were like, where's your son? And I was like, well, he's 10, so we could actually ride all the rides. Yeah. So my mom was watching him for part of the day. So it works out. And it's nice because like I can bring my husband for free certain times and get discounted tickets, discounted food.
Yep.
So not that we really.
And they now have Dole Whips, which I was excited about.
And they have little I know you don't use it, but there are performers there. They do a little Daniel Tiger show like 4 times a day. And then they do some dancing. We
have not stopped for those shows this year. But this, I'd have to say, is the first year that my kids haven't asked for them.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's good. And then the other, I mean, I said it in one of my other podcasts that we were going to really use the library programs a lot this summer. I wouldn't say we use them a lot, but we rented a zoo pass for the zoo in our state, and we did that. So that it was, and I got to bring, like, you could bring, it's up for 6 adults. And I was able to bring my mom, my cousin, and her daughter, and my son and myself.
That's awesome.
And it was for $15 for all of us.
And I don't know, like when my kids were young, I didn't know the library had passes for you to rent. But all of the Connecticut libraries have like for state parks and children's museums and some aquariums. They have passes that you can rent as long as they're available. And I took advantage of that when my kids were younger. Most frequently. They were not huge. Like we would go into the kids section of the library and they would play with stuff, but that was short-lived. Their attention spans weren't long enough, and all they wanted to do was rent movies. And I was like, no, we're not. We're at a library. Let's rent books. Like let's take those home. But once I learned about that, so if you guys haven't gone to your libraries yet, go and see what they have available, and you could really open up your options for summer things to do with your kids. Right. Because if I haven't mentioned, I love to find deals. I don't know anyone who's like, I like to find things that are full price. I'm looking for the full price options. Can you charge me more? Right. Actually. So I think that kind of opened my eyes. I've been twice to like a reading program with kids, and I feel like sometimes it's great. I just feel like sometimes being a teacher, there's like this innate thing with you, and you're trying to make sure that these kids are playing together, and this mom has 3 kids, so I'm like, oh, I got to take one over for her. Right. And, these kids keep trying to escape, so I'm going to sit in front of the door and make sure they don't escape. And so it's not as much fun. Yeah. Like you have to just go in like knowing like, okay, it's going to be chaos. It's not going to be fun. And all I'm going to be doing is saying, let's try this. Let's do this. Oh, let's sing along. Oh, yeah. No, let's do this. Yeah. And if your kid's not engaged in it, then like, why keep going? And not to rain on the parade of these library programs, because they're amazing. And when I was in high school, I created the programs for the young adult and the children's libraries as part of my community service. So I know the time and effort that goes into having programs at the library, and they're amazing for what they are. But if they're not for your kid, to keep going is a lot of work. Right. I've mentioned it in other podcasts that my son used to be in a really big daycare, and now he's in a smaller daycare, and he's thriving so much more. So I would say there's probably at least 25, 30 kids in this one room with all these adults. And that's a lot. That's a lot of, first of all, 1 to 2-year-olds to begin with in one room. That's a lot for high school students. Right. So my expectation isn't high. So we go, and like this time I was like, okay, we're going to go for as long as he can kind of handle it. And that's what we do. And then we go back up. The children's section is actually really nice in our town. They have like a separate like playroom, and then they have like a castle where the kids can kind of play in. Yeah, so they definitely have some stuff. So he'll play there and just kind of enjoy himself. But I would not say it's anything more. I mean, at max, I get an hour out of the library at this age. I wouldn't expect anyone. My kid's about 15 months old, so I wouldn't expect anything more. Yeah, it's not a full day event like the amusement park could be. Right, and this is like, okay, it's raining and we have to get out of the house for a little bit, and let's do that. Anything. Right. I'll do that with my kids, and when we go to the library, I'll say you could play on the electronics they have there, but you also have to rent 2 new books that you will read cover to cover before we return them and before we go back. So my kids have stipulations, and they understand. Like a library is great for all things. Right. And we need to continue reading. So like the books both. Is the main part. Yeah. And my kids are in camp now. This is the second summer they're going to this camp. And last summer when we tried it for the first time, I was apprehensive, not because my kids couldn't handle it and I thought it was too much for them, but because there was this mom teacher guilt. And I don't know if you've experienced it yet, but there is something in society, within me, that says, oh, you're a teacher. You get the summers off. You get to spend all summer with your children. What an amazing experience. Well, I'm not a stay-at-home mom, and my DNA was not created for that. And I would have some really long summers because I felt like I had to be there for my kids and give 100% of me to them. And then I was tapped out. And I couldn't think of any more things to do. And then I would get in this cycle of like self-deprecating talk and just feeling really bad about the lackluster mom I was being and the lackluster wife I was being. Like I just wasn't giving enough to anybody.
Right.
And so there's this guilt, like I'm sending my kids away, but I'm home for the day. So then that means I need to create a list of things to get done around the house. And if it doesn't get done, shame on me. So last summer, I sent them for the first time. I sent them for 2 sessions. And the camp I send them to, the sessions are 2 weeks long. So they have 4 sessions. We did the first and the third session. The first session, they loved it. They absolutely loved it. They came home dirty and sweaty and exhausted and so excited to wake up and go back the next day that I was beside myself and was like kicking myself for not doing it sooner because giving them the experience of camp is more than I could have given them in a day, even if I was 100% for them all of the time.
Right.
So they were halfway through the 3rd session and they were like, can you please sign us up for the 4th session? We just want to go back. And with the way that work falls, we go back a little early and I had some stuff to do in my classroom. So I ended up signing them up for a 3rd session, which was fine. And they enjoyed it. We didn't have a huge vacation planned at any point. So it was perfect for them. It got them out. And I actually felt less guilty after I sent them. And I heard all of the things that the camp counselors were doing with them and how active they were and how much they loved it. That this summer, I still only signed them up for 2 sessions, but I like kicked them out the door. I was like, go ahead, kids, get to the bus stop, have fun. And that's the other beautiful thing is this camp picks them up and drops them off. Right. So the bus picks them up at 8:05 and drops them off at 3:45. And then I've got my day to take care of myself so that when they are home, I can monitor the TV and I can come up with things for us to do. And I can do the things that they need me to be there for them for without feeling like, well, what about the me time? Like, how do I take care of myself? Because now I have the days to take care of myself so I can give more.
And even stay-at-home moms who need to put their kids in daycare for a few days.
Do it. There is no shame in you taking care of yourself.
Right. And no one, I mean, stay-at-home moms, because we experience it both, working and being stay-at-home moms for a period of time. It's hard. Yes. There's no breaks. You don't know when your breaks are coming. You don't know what you're going to get done. You can plan all you want for the day and you have no idea
and
when
then
it's
your kid falls asleep for 5 minutes in the car and doesn't go down for a nap at all, and all the laundry that you were going to do can't get done.
Right. Yeah. There's so many things. Yeah. And I pull my son out economically in the summer. I do feel a little of that mom guilt too. Yeah. But my mother, so his grandmother, is here for part of the summer, so she can watch him. Also, so that when helps. I need it. Yeah. Right. That's what's happening right now, just so you understand. But yeah, I mean, I thought that it would be so hard to fill the days. But for me, I don't know. It just
how is it halfway through the summer already? Like what happened?
And it's so funny how like blocks of time just get filled. Like if I get up in the morning, let's say my son gets up at like 6 in the morning. That's a good day. But if he gets up at 6 in the morning, and we kind of play in bed for a little bit, and then we come downstairs and we go for a walk. Even if I go for a walk for an hour, that's 7:30. I come back, we play, we have breakfast. And then it's like there's an activity that we're going to go do, and then it's lunchtime, and then it's nap time, and then he gets up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's already 2:30. Like,
where'd the day go?
So it's definitely there's definitely things, and whatever you do, just gosh, take some time for yourself.
Yes. Yeah. I never fully grasped the concept of it takes a village until I was in it. And I like just to ask for help from someone was so shameful, and you shouldn't need help from someone. And it was awful. So it takes a village, and it takes courage on part of the mom to get rid of that guilt of, I'm home for the summer, I need to be there 100%. Like, you can take time for yourself, and you need time for yourself, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So.
And definitely in the summer, just enjoy it.
Yeah.
And even my son, like, they need that time with their peers. Like, you can't just have 2 months off and not see another child.
Isolated,
yeah. So, especially at my son's age, like, he needs to learn all those social cues. Like, pulling him out for 2 months is, he's not getting all that social skills practice that, all his peers are who are staying in the summer.
It's actually funny. I'm taking grad classes, and one of the courses I'm taking is talking about Africa and how they're using these alternative methods for punishment for criminals and whatnot. And I just watched a video on something called Ubuntu, which is the African philosophy that humans can't exist without relationship, that they can't exist without seeing you and what you're doing and mimicking what you do. If there was no other human, a human wouldn't know how to act, and therefore they wouldn't be human. So to say that even about kids and like babies need to see other babies acting in order to survive and thrive and become adults, right? Like, so it's so interesting to me that you can draw those parallels cross culture, cross continents, like that. It's just there. It's got to happen. And if you isolate your kids, might not be the best option for them.
Right. Okay, so that will do it for our summer episode. So thank you, Taryn, for coming on.
My pleasure. I'm glad to be back.
If you want to follow us on Instagram, you can do that at Mommy Escape Time. We also are on the website, mommyescapetime.com, and, Facebook and Twitter, but no one follows us there. So anyways, we will see you next time and hope you have a good week. Bye.
Bye.